Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA private label and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Torcano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today we bring another special guest. His name is Kamal, and he's the CEO and founder of MC One Step, which is one of the top leading agencies in the space when it comes to helping you with all the creative side of your Amazon business, which we know actually is pretty much 80% of the success when it comes to driving the conversions and then helping the client make a decision if your product is the right choice or not. So that's why I wanted to bring Kamal on board today, because he has a ton of experience when it comes to this, and I know his team is very well known in the space for that as well. So yeah, Kamal, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How you doing, my friend? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vince. I'm super excited to be here. And thank you so much for the introduction. So, yeah, I'm glad to talk about traffic conversions. How you can boost your traffic and conversion using the Amazon Creatives, different strategies. That we have been working in the past, few years that have been bringing results. So, I'm super excited to speak about, to this topic.
Awesome. So now, before we jump into that, let's start with a little bit about you, as I do with all my guests. I think it would be great to have a quick intro about who is Kamal and how you basically came up with the idea of founding your company, MC One Step. So tell me a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I started selling on Amazon in back in 2015. Started as a retail arbitrage, did some online arbitrage. Ended up doing wholesale, and eventually, sooner I realized that if I want to scale my Amazon brand, I need to do the private label. So I started selling on Amazon private label products. A couple of them failed initially, and finally, I found some traction. But at the same time, when I was selling on Amazon, I was building a community of Amazon sellers around me in Canada. So I
Nice.
was hosting different meetup groups like in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. So I was organizing meetup groups, and the community started to grow really fast. And people were asking me like, "Hey, who does your images? Who does your PPC? Who does your like shipment?" People were asking me like lots and lots of uh, you know asking me for help, and I was like, I was referring them to different people. I was like, hey,
Exactly.
if you want PPC, go to this guy. If you want images, he's my freelancer. If you want, so that kind of gave me an idea that maybe we should, I should
Mhm.
be doing something on my on my own instead of just sending people to different companies. So that's how AMZ One Step was born. And sooner we were like initially we were like providing all different services, but sooner we realized that people are really enjoying the creative services that we had, because the design was good, it was converting really well. My team of designers that I was working with, they were really really good. So people started to come back for creative. So 6 months after, we shifted our entire focus to Amazon Creatives only. So now we're, as we mentioned, we're one of the top leading creatives company in the business for almost 6 years. Yeah, so that's about me and AMZ One Step. And if you
That's
want,
good. I mean, what a story, to be honest. And it reflects so much relate to your story in the sense that the reason why I also did my agency was because of that. I was going to events, webinars, and all of that. People would say, who are you using for this, who are you using for that, how you do that? And then I say, wait a minute, like you actually can also make money selling your knowledge and your experience. And it's great that you actually saw the opportunity and took action, because so many people see it but they don't actually execute, and you done an amazing job with that. Now let's jump into the topic, which is everything regarding creatives and how we take advantage of traffic on Amazon. Because I think a lot of times people think that the issue is that they're having is traffic, like they spend all this money on PPC, on Google Ads, influencer market, all of that. But realistically, the issue is the foundation, which is how the product is visualized by clients, right? In the form of images, in the form of the video, the copy, and all of that. And realistically, that's I would say always like 80-90% of what really drives the success on Amazon, having really good creatives, the way you communicate with the tonality and you convey the needs of the customer and all those kind of things. But at the same time, that has to be backed up by data, right? So I guess to set the ground and open the conversation, like with all these years you guys been doing creatives, what are some of the things you've been seeing that are really moving the needle the most when it comes to conversion? What are some of those elements? Yeah.
I think if you're looking at the biggest needle moving thing in your creatives, or you call it like 80/20 rule, it should be your main image. Do
Okay.
lots of testing on your main image. Once uh, you know so your main image alone is responsible for the most amount of traffic that you get. If people don't come to your listing, they're not going to look at your A plus content. They're
Exactly.
not going to look at your listing or other images or the videos, no matter how good your product is. If your main image is not able to drive traffic, if it's not able to increase the click through rate, you know no matter how good of a product or listing you have, it's not going to work. So main image is one of the most important things um, that you can do as an Amazon seller, which can move the needle like instantly, right? So and there are lots of ways to do that. There's like you can use like third party softwares like Pickfu.
Hmm.
There's new one IntelliView out there working really well. You can use Manager Experiments. So do lots of split testing, to see which image is bringing you the most amount of traffic. And don't just stop there. Always keep going back to the keyword that you're targeting. Like look at what are the other main competitors, what kind of new concepts that others are trying, which can potentially harm your click-through rate. So it's not just one time thing. It's a consistent process, that should be optimized, you know every single month. If you
Hmm.
have a very competitive product, if you have like a decent product, you're the best seller, maybe every quarter you should be doing the optimizations, for your main image. By optimization, I don't necessarily mean that you have to change your main image, but always keep testing in the back end, like using third party softwares. Once you find the winning picture, you can just change that. So that is the biggest needle moving thing that I see,
Hmm.
at least in the 95% of Amazon sellers. If they could change their
Choose
main,
one thing. Yeah.
it's going to change the game, for
Awesome. Now, when it comes to the main image, at the same time, some people, of course, starts to be mindful that yes, that's definitely the way to go when it comes to split testing. But they struggle to come up with variations of the current main image. What I mean by variations, like should I do it with this angle? Should I do it with a shadow? Should I do it with a box? Should I do this and that? So I'm pretty sure that you guys now that have done this thousands of times, you have identified what are some of the usually the elements you want to test in terms of angles and things like that. So what are some of the main elements you think, like when it comes to an image, you want to split test? Like what are some of those things maybe you want to test? Yeah.
So there are different strategies or different concepts that you can do, when it comes to the main image. But the main purpose of the main image is two different things. If the buyer is shopping on a desktop or laptop, what you want to do, your goal is to break the pattern. Okay. And if the buyer is shopping on a cell phone, your goal is to stop the scroll, right?
Exactly.
And how you can do that is the concept is exactly the same. For example, there are some categories where everybody is using Amazon compliant image. Everybody's like product on white background, they're not doing anything fancy. So just you, by changing a little bit of things, could do the thing. It could have the impact because everyone is Amazon compliant. On the other side, if you see some other categories which are really competitive, everybody is using some gray hat techniques, using graphics, some are using some labels to make their main image stand out. So it's like a very noisy, right? So how do you stand out from that? How do you break the pattern? There is going to be a little bit difficult, but in the end, it all depends on how you want to break the pattern. And every keyword has a different pattern breaking uh, you
Okay.
know images. So I have broken it down to like 14 different strategies, that can, Amazon sellers use to break the pattern. But which strategy would work for Amazon seller really
Yeah.
depends on what their competitors are doing. If their competitor, we have to do something different, but at the
Yeah.
same time, our product should be very clearly, telling the other person like what exactly we're selling. That's number one.
Hmm.
Number two, and we should be telling that in less than 2 seconds, right? If they're spending too much time on just looking at the image, trying to figure out what exactly is the product, what is the unique selling proposition, you know it's too slow or too late, people are gonna, go to the other listings. So yeah, so it really depends on, what your competitors are doing and how you can be
Exactly.
competitive.
So yeah, actually, one example came to my mind. I remember this brand, Angry Orange, that got sold by hundreds of millions of dollars. One of the strategies they were using this right very peach color orange when it comes to packaging. Right, just to give an example, like of course that's also part of the packaging, but that goes to the point of what you mentioned, breaking the pattern. If everybody's using, I don't know, like blue as a color on their image, why not use something like, I don't know, pink or something that really breaks the pattern and really catch your eye to drive that click right towards that image. um Now when it comes to images as well, something I get asked a lot is like, how do you think you can achieve the best conversion in terms of the asset use on the image? What do I mean by this? Some people lately has been using 3D rendering for the images. Some people is using photography. Some people is using AI. So what are your take? What is your take on that? Because I mean, all of them realistic can look nice, but I'm
Mhm.
sure maybe you already have some insights about what realistically is been drawing the best results in the long term. So do you have maybe something you can share regarding like what kind of assets you should be using on the image? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I would definitely, love to dive deeper into that. Just to connect what you just said about Thrasio's, Angry Orange
Yeah.
product. This is the exact same example. I could relate to that so much because we had, one of our, partners. We were speaking about like, hey, what kind of different strategies, we can use to
Hmm.
make your main image stand out. But before you even think about the main image, if you are watching this video and you're trying to launch a new product, or if you're trying to, um, in future, if you will come up with new product, product itself makes the huge difference. If your
Exactly.
product packaging or if the product
Stands out. Yeah.
stands out,
Yeah.
then you don't need to do all those fancy stuff with the creatives, right? So I was
Mm.
speaking with one of our partners and we're talking different strategies, like, hey, we can do, this and that. When I actually looked at the product, I'm like, wait a second. We're not going to do anything because your product itself is so
Mm.
unique that it's going to draws everybody's attention, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so those strategies, if you have a unique product which just stands out, you're operating at the next level. So I can relate to that so much. So good point,
Yeah.
thank you for reminding that, Vincenzo. And moving on to the conversion point, there are a few things, that you can do which can, change the game. Let's say once you have a traffic, the first thing that I like to do is, how can your images can relate with the buyer like as quickly as possible, whether it's an emotional, whether it's an emotional connect or logical connect. The first thing that we do in the infographics is the concept of visual reference. For example, people don't really humans don't really understand numbers that well. For example, let's say you're selling you know I always give that example. Let's say you're selling a extra large, you know, delivery bag. Maybe the Uber
Yeah.
Eats or DoorDash, drivers. They are the target audience. So you have two options. Your feature is extra large, pizza delivery bag, right? So option number one is you can show the dimensions like, hey, it's 24 inches tall, 36 inches wide, whatever the dimensions are. You can just show that feature that it's extra large. That is option number one. Option number two, you can use the concept of visual reference and show how many extra pizzas you can actually hold in that bag and show the picture of that. So then people can instantly and logically they can connect with the image. Like the pizza driver or a delivery driver, is thinking like, oh wow, I can carry like two extra large pizzas in this bag. Perfect. And I can also carry, maybe 2 liters of, a pop or, Coca-Cola, whatever. So they can instantly connect because you are using a visual reference concept as opposed to just showing them the numbers. Okay, it's 24 inches tall or 30, because it just increases your conversion time, right? So if you're making, your buyer, if you're making your buyer think, you're losing. Show them visually with the visual reference. For example, let's just say your feature is lightweight and you're selling a vacuum cleaner. It's a lightweight vacuum cleaner. You can actually show like, it's only, let's just say, 2 kilograms, right? Or you can also, show 2 kilograms is not, maybe that's not the actual weight of, you know, let's just say it's 5 kilograms, right? For
Exactly.
and it's a lightweight. So if 5 kilogram is considered lightweight, instead of showing the weight, maybe I would show a young girl carrying the vacuum cleaner with one hand and going downstairs or going upstairs.
Exactly. Makes sense.
Right, so it's like the same feature, but you're showing visually and telling the people like what is the actual benefit. It's a lot better than just showing the numbers.
A
So
number. Yeah.
if you just change the concept, in your infographics, like how you're showcasing that, it's a huge beneficial. We see an uptick in conversions like right away. So that is what, there's like so many examples. What you guys can do, you can search on Google 99 visual references. So I have collected the best visual references, in the Amazon space, the images, the ideas that you can steal. Go to that blog. It will give you so much good ideas, how you
Mm.
can change your main images, I mean the infographic images, just by having a new concept. So this is what has been working really, really well for the infographics. But that is only, you know 1/5 of how you can increase the conversion. The next part is the Amazon lifestyle images, right? So how there's a concept that we do to make your conversions go up. Like there's three different things you can do. Like one is emotional, extreme use. Then the second one is extreme conditions, and the third one is um, extreme emotions, right? So whenever you're creating a lifestyle image, you got to think to yourself that, okay, how can I add either an extreme emotion or show the extreme use or extreme conditions? So for example, you're selling a bathroom anti-slip bathroom mat, right?
Yeah.
So it protects you from slipping, right? So the feature is it's an anti-slip, and it's very safe to use in the bathroom, right? So you can either just show a feet on the bathroom mat. That could be one lifestyle image which everybody's doing. Or maybe you can use a pregnant lady who is carrying a tummy inside her
Mm.
baby, and she's the one stepping onto that anti-bathroom mat. So what is that? That's like extreme emotion. It's the same image, you're doing the same thing, but you're connecting an extreme emotion. Even though if you have no reviews on your listing, people are going to trust
Yeah.
your
That
product
you
just
really understand the need. You understand their pain, basically. Yeah.
exactly right. So that is one example of adding extreme, maybe emotions, right? For example, extreme conditions. Let's say you're selling waterproof, outdoor camera, right? So
Yeah.
the feature is that it's waterproof, right? Maybe show that in the stormy night, right? Photoshop all those hails and wind, and just
Yeah.
show that it can last in those stormy nights as well, right? So it's an extreme condition, right? Or maybe you're selling again vacuum cleaner, and
Mm.
the feature is that it can pick even the small little things, right? Maybe show that in a messy house with with multiple dogs, with dog hair all around the house, and then it's just cleaning that. So there are lots of emotional, extreme uses, conditions, things that you can do in the lifestyle images. If you do this visual reference and extreme lifestyle images, your conversion will go up, right?
Awesome. Very good.
Obviously there needs to be like better reviews, your price
Uh,
needs to be good. We're not
but
talking about,
that,
right?
but that this itself already gives you a huge advantage. Yeah, on top of your competition, if you do that. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. So these are some of the things that you can do, and the same concepts can also be applied to your video, to your A plus content, right? So that can really help, elevate your conversion rates, right?
Nice.
Another example, maybe, you're selling disposable cutlery. So what is the
Yeah.
problem with the cutlery? That it can break while eating because it's a plastic. So how do you show the durability? Maybe do a bend test,
Mhm.
bend it all around, say, hey, look at that, like, it's not going to break. So now it's a no brainer for the buyer to not buy that product if he's looking for that feature, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just showing it's durable and won't break, just show them it won't break, right?
Very good. I
so
like it. Yeah.
so that's how you can increase the conversions with creatives. Yeah.
Nice. Now, still on this topic, when it comes to these images, like I see more and more often people using 3D modeling or rendering for the images, because it seems like in some of the context, especially supplements, you want them to look very, the packaging very perfect, like the curvature of the packaging and things like that. Like sometimes on a photography, it's difficult to achieve. So what is your take on that? Like, would you say there is a specific guide you use, like for this kind of product, you use 3D modeling and rendering for this photography, or it's really based on the choice of the client? What is your feedback on that?
So 3D rendering, I am a big fan of doing
Yeah.
3D rendering. It just makes your product look so much better, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
Professional. Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
it's it looks professional, because when a human is taking a picture, there's a chances that there will be human error. But on a 3D rendering, it's being done virtually on a computer. Literally, you don't have any, you know, uh,
Any lighting issues or whatever. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. So what how I like to use 3D rendering is mainly for the main image. That's number one, because if you have a 3D rendered main image, it's just going to stand out. It's going to pop out from the search results.
Hmm.
It's going to look so much better. It can help you with the click through rate. But on these other images, in the lifestyle images, if you're doing like the actual models, if you're doing like actual photos, don't use 3D rendering. And if you're using like stock images, maybe you can use 3D rendering, and Photoshop that into your lifestyle images, and just make sure that it looks real, because sometimes it can look fake. So you have to be
Hmm.
very careful with that. But again, with the infographics, you can use 3D rendering. And also some products, let's say if you have to show what's inside the product, or maybe if you have to show the exploded view of a product. So those types of images are really nicely done by 3D rendering. But how I like to do, there are some like uh, types of products which would make so much sense if you do a 3D rendering for. If your product is a hard surface product, it's going to
Hmm.
be really good. If your product is white or black in color, because white reflects a lot of light and black absorbs a lot of light, so chances
Hmm.
of you know uh, error with photography goes really high, unless you're working with a really professional photographer, right? So if you have a
That's
product in white or product in black, I would recommend you go with 3D rendering. And transparent product, highly reflective products, 3D rendering works great. Or if your competitor or whole niche is, for example, supplements, everybody is doing 3D rendering. So for those kind of categories, you must do 3D renderings. And how I would avoid, some categories where you don't want 3D rendering at all. Maybe clothing, right? You don't want clothing to be 3D rendered, or soft surface products. You don't want 3D rendering for, or product shapes which are very complicated, so more complicated. Let's say if you have to 3D render a laptop, right? So it's lots of little things which can go wrong, and it's just going to be so lengthy process. I would rather
yeah.
hire a photographer, just do a good job. So it really depends what to choose. But me personally, I'm a big fan of 3D rendering uh, for the products that fit well for it.
Awesome. Now, on the images, usually I get this question a lot, and I guess it also gonna depend on data you gather through our split testing. But people always says like, after the main image, which one do you think is the next best order when it comes to the secondary, the third image, and so on? Like, what are some of the elements that they must be there? Like an image that talk about comparing my product against a competitor, an image that talks about packaging, an image that talks about benefits. Like, do you have some must-have at the high level that you can also share in that perspective, like order you like to follow for that as well?
There is there's no hard and fast rule what the
Okay.
order should be. What we like to do is three different things. One is the product shots.
Mhm.
What you want to show is the product first. That is the first thing. For example, if you're selling, let's just say, a laptop, going back to the same example, in the main image, let's say you show the laptop open, right? And the next image, what people want to see is the laptop closed, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So show them the product first, where you can do it in the two images, or you can do it in the three images. Does not really matter. Do not show your product on the sixth image, because people want to see the product first, right? Like,
Okay.
say if it makes sense or not, right? Next comes is the features and benefits, right? So in that can be shown in the infographics, or lifestyle images, depending on what is your feature and what is your benefit, right? And somewhere, in the images, you want to sneak in your unique selling proposition in such a way. It really depends on what is the unique selling proposition. So you want to tell a story and see where your unique selling proposition fits the best. Most of the time it's on the fifth or sixth image. If your seventh is a video, fifth or sixth should be your unique selling proposition. But many sellers, they do a mistake that they show their unique selling proposition right after the product shots or on the second image. The reason why we avoid that is because it can confuse people, that it can, because let's say if you're selling a bundle, right, show
Mhm.
them the main product first before you just add a bundle image, right? So so this is what we have been doing. But again, there's no hard and fast rule. It is different for everybody. What I would recommend is using, tools like IntelliV. I've been using it recently. What you can do, you can upload all your there's a PickFu tool as well. You can see the heat map, right? So
Yeah,
always do those testing, and see where the heat map is. What are some of the images people are going first, right? So there, if they're looking at, the deck of images, there has to be, certain images which just attracts people's attention like right away. So do those testing and you can just change it up. But to be honest, we have not seen a significant improvement just by changing the order, right?
I see.
So it really makes sense for sellers who are doing, 50,000 a month just from one SKU or 100,000. So it would make sense to do these kind of split testing. But if you have, a less than, $50,000 product a month, you're not going to
Exactly.
see big difference just by changing the order. But the advanced level sellers, they are testing it already.
Very good. Now, when it comes, I mean, of course, the images is always the main thing to play with when it comes to providing a improvement in conversions. But after that, which one would you say would be the second most important thing? Will it be the A plus content? Will it be the video? Will it be the copy? I mean, the copy, of course, is very important, but from the perspective more of the visual aspect of the listing, like, what would you say is the next thing after the images? Yeah.
It's got to be A plus content, right? So
Okay.
first thing, when people look at the review, we have done, heat mapping with some of our buyers, and what we see that instantly people look at your images and then they click on the reviews. So when they click on
Hmm.
reviews, they go all the way down to, the bottom of the page, read some reviews. When they come up, then they start reading your A plus content, right? So they re-engage with the A plus content. And most of the time, they make their decision, just by, they don't want to, like, uh, spend way too much time, on a listing before making a decision, unless it's expensive product. So images and A plus content is more than enough, for them to decide if they're going to purchase a product or not. If they're really interested, they will watch the video, but their decision is kind of made during the images and A plus content. So,
Okay.
very interested people would watch the video. Um, and yeah, so, that's what has been working really, really well for the conversion images. And the next thing I would do is the A plus content on my images. But videos, a lot of sellers, they really want video on their listing. But if they look at
Mhm.
the video views, it's only, it's like less than 15% of the actual sessions that they have on the listing, right?
Okay.
And it's always, it's also like a little bit challenging to find what kind of video would work the best for, because video is like, it's like, let's say, 45 seconds thing, right? So video is also like, where are you showing the content which attracts the buyers the most, right? So video, it's like just a very linear thing. Images, they can scroll up and down, see what they really want to see first, right? So on a video, they have to literally wait 45 seconds. And it's only serious buyers watching the video anyways. So I would say A plus content.
Awesome. And just to conclude the A plus content, what is your take as well with the new addition of, for example, premium A plus content? Like, have you seen really a big jump in terms of improvement as well, or would you say it's really minimal when it comes to jumping from the normal A plus to the premium one? Yeah.
Uh, if you have a product that has like lots of features and benefits, lots of different things that you can do, premium A plus content is a game changer. It's been, uh, it's been helping really well for our clients who are selling like expensive products, right? For example, if you're selling like, headphones, with the 120 bucks or something like that, or 150 bucks for an
Hmm.
headphones, it works really well because we can go in depth and explain the product really really well, like what why people should buy that. We have a lot of real estate to convince people, but we haven't seen the biggest impact on a basic products. Like for example, if you're selling coffee mug, right? So like, what's the best you can do by premium A plus content? Like your regular A plus content can do as good as job as your premium A plus content. So it's really working well for the products that can handle premium A plus content,
That
right?
can leverage the extra size of real estate, basically. Yeah, rather than
Exactly.
repeating content over and over.
Exactly, and aesthetically, premium A plus content, like every single time, it just looks better because there's no bleed between the
Exactly.
modules, right? So you can design in very better, in a nice way. They are broader, so it just looks better. And also for the mobile version, the premium A plus content, works
It
way
looks
better than,
smoother.
you know.
Hmm.
So those are the advantages. Obviously, premium is better, but if you ask me, the biggest impact is for the products that can, leverage the
Yeah,
modules given by. So lot of products I see that they're still underqualified for premium plus content.
yeah, that's good. Thank you so much, Kamal. I mean, this episode was full of so many insights and strategies when it comes to how to improve conversions, which I strongly believe is the only way that you can really become profitable on Amazon. Because I hear all the time people focusing so much on PPC, this and that, which of course is important. But if you're driving all these strategies when it comes to traffic, but the foundation is not there when it comes to how the product is basically perceived by your potential clients, you're gonna basically flop, right? So thank you so much for all those tips. And I think for sure people might be wondering, all this makes sense, but I don't know how to do it. So maybe I need to reach out to Kamal so he can do it for me. So how they can reach out and work with you and your agency? Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking for some help, you can go to www.amz1step.com, fill out the form, and book a call with one of our Amazon specialists, and we can walk you through, how, if we are the right fit for you or not. So that would be the, best way to reach us out. But if you guys want to follow us on social media, see what we're up to, Instagram, Facebook, search by /AMZ1step, and, you'll find us there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kamal. So have an amazing one and see you in the next one. Yeah. Been a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.